Hey guys, what's up? I am super excited to do this live video, as I am with all live videos, because I love teaching. So this is our Get Unstuck, a new way to improve your English masterclass, and we are going to do this a little bit old school, okay? I am holding my phone. I cannot believe it. I am holding my phone in my hand. I do not usually like giving classes like this where I only have one hand available to we talk with our hands, right? But the issue is this last week my tripod broke and now I can't find it. So I'm like, okay, I just discovered this 10 minutes ago and we're going to roll with it because you have to be flexible in life. But if you guys see my phone shaking a little bit, I'm just going to apologize in advance. And we're going to have some weird angles because I'm resting my hand on my desk and I'm going to look at my notes over here. But you know what? As I said, we're going to roll with it. We're going to make the best of it because we have to. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you guys for showing up. I also know there's going to be plenty of people watching the replay. So hi to you guys too. Where's everybody watching from? It's always cool to see where you guys are checking in from. As always, I have a lot to cover. And as always, I tend to go off script. Like I know what I'm going to teach, so I just roll with it and then I just jump all over the place. So you guys know how it is. But what I want to do today, let's first talk about the goals for this class. In 1 hour, because I have a lot of goals for this class. In 1 hour, I want to open your mind to a new way to improve your English, okay? A new way, maybe something you've never tried before, something that never occurred to you before, okay? A new way to improve your English, right? Maybe there's a better, faster, more enjoyable way to reach your English goals. I believe that there is. If you're following me, following my profile, then likely you still have not reached your English goals and you're here for a reason, right? So I want to help you reach your goals faster, right? I want to help you get control of your English journey so that you know exactly how to make progress and you're not wondering like, oh, what do I have to do and why am I not improving, right? So that you don't need to rely on teachers or classes. If you want to rely on teachers and classes, do one-on-one sessions, group sessions, sign up for courses. Even I offer courses, okay? That's totally fine. But I believe in having options, okay? And I want to empower you to do this alone if that's what you want to do. Or if you're inspired and you're like, you know what, I want a structured way of learning English. I want to follow a methodology, a proven program. I want to do this with community. Then we have that to offer you as well. But basically, I believe in choices, okay? And there are so many people that learn English and succeed on their own. And then there are people that prefer to do it with a community, with courses, and there's no right or wrong way. It's what is right for you, okay? So, and basically, I want to help you finally get to the level you want so you can move on with your life. That is my goal for all of my students. It's like, I love you, but I want you to not need me anymore at some point in your life. I want you to move on. I want you to live your best life with English, reach all of your personal and professional goals, live a happy, fulfilling life where English can be a part of it, okay? But this, as much as, language learning is a lifelong journey and all these things, you will eventually, hopefully, get to the other side where it's like, okay, yes, I'm sure I will constantly improve my English, but I no longer am like working on it actively, okay? So that's the goal. And in this class, you guys, I'm going to reveal 2 powerhouse strategies that will make or break your success. Actually, together, these are more than just strategies. These are methodologies that together create a framework for guaranteed success. Okay, so you just have to hang on, watch the full class to really, really get what I'm saying here. Okay, so before that, I want to quickly introduce myself, especially to those of you who are new, who are like, who is this lady? My name is Stephanie. I go by Stephanie, the English coach here online, and I am the founder of EnglishFullTime.com. We are an English school, an online English school for intermediate to advanced learners. And basically, I've spent the last several years creating courses and working with students in these courses, and now we're bringing in other teachers to work with us and support our students. And basically we want to create, programs that help students reach their desired results fast and in a very, very enjoyable way. Okay. So you don't have to feel like you're alone. So you don't have to feel like you're not making any progress. Okay. So that's me. Tomorrow we are opening enrollment for our daily English program, and we have a huge discount and bonus that we're doing because it is our 3-year anniversary of this program. We're very excited about that. If you're on my email list, you will be the first to hear about it. You can sign up at englishfulltime.com. But in honor of us opening doors to this program again, I thought I would talk about these 2 methodologies that together create a framework for guaranteed success, because it's exactly what we do in the daily English program. And I want to give you the formula, okay? I want to tell you what makes this program so successful and give you the formula so you can do it by yourself if you want to, or you can join us if you want to. Either way is fine, okay? So I'm really excited about this, you guys. First of all, are you stuck in English? Okay, because really this is to get you unstuck. So you should be watching this live video or the replay if you feel a bit stuck in your English, a bit stale, a bit like, yeah, I understand English, but I don't feel like I've been improving. You know, my vocabulary is not getting any bigger. My pronunciation is not getting any sharper. My grammar is the same old. Like, you just feel stuck. And maybe you don't feel as sharp in English as you are in your native language. Maybe in your native language, you're very well spoken. You have a grand vocabulary. And then English comes and you're just like, oh my goodness, I feel a way that I don't want to feel when I speak English, right? So are you stuck? Okay, let us know in the comments. And when it comes to your English, what do you want? What are your goals? Have you actually envisioned this? Like, have you envisioned that English speaker version of yourself that you're trying to become? Because I want to tell you, if you don't know this already, that having the end result in mind is one of the most important things we need when it comes to success. Because if you don't know where you're going or where you're headed, how are you going to get there? Okay, so you actually need to do these visualization exercises. I know this sounds a little bit woo-woo, and I'm not woo-woo like that, so hopefully you guys know what that term means. But it sounds, what's the word I'm looking for? Does anybody know the word that I'm looking for? Like, it just sounds too out there. It sounds like, yeah, sure, Stephanie, visualization exercises. Okay. No, but I'm serious. Like, you close your eyes or go for a walk or really think about it. Think about what you want and where you're at right now, because you need to be able to measure the distance in between. Like, how far are you from that, right? And then you can start thinking analytically about, well, what do I have to do to get there? Again, because I'm trying to coach you to be able to do this on your own. Okay, or you can join us, that's fine. But I really want you guys to know how to do this on your own, because that's ultimately what we teach in the Daily English program. When students graduate from this program, they are proactive, independent learners who do not need a teacher. They know how to improve their English on their own. They have acquired so many skills. They've learned how to correct their own mistakes. It's really amazing, okay? So I'm giving you the methodology here. Okay, so hopefully you guys know, somebody says crackpotish. Oh my goodness. That's not the word I was looking for, but I think it's going in the right direction. All right. Basically, it's the kind of thing that makes people skeptical. Like, yeah, sure, I just need to visualize something and it's going to happen. No, it's not like that. But you do need that aspect of it. It's like a plan. It's like if you're going to build a house, you need a plan, right? You can't just start nailing pieces of wood together because, oh my goodness, your house is going to fall down at some point if you do that. Unless you're like a master builder with lots of experience. But let's assume you're not. Okay. Great. So now we're going to talk about how to get there. We're going to finally start getting into like the meat of this class. So there's 2 methodologies, okay, that I want to share with you today. One of them is not new. You've heard me talk about this before, hopefully, but today I'm just going to run through it quickly and I'm going to give you some more concrete examples so you know how to do it, okay? So the 2 methodologies to build a framework that guarantee your success in getting to the level of English that you want. Okay. And by the way, sorry, have to back up. The level of English that you want. Okay. Having the confidence to speak and making yourself understood is baseline. Okay. That's baseline. That should be baseline, right? First, you have to get to that baseline. I know for a lot of people, like that's like, woohoo, I did it. And that's good, okay? We help people achieve that in our Fluency Breakthrough Challenge, right? We help students get there where you're confident and you can speak. Awesome, okay? But then what about improving your English? What about really sharpening it up? What about really making it good? Like so good that you're like, yeah, I'm proud of my English because of how good it is. Not just I'm proud that I can finally speak, or I'm proud that I can finally be confident. That's good. And I don't want to take away from that because so many students are still trying to get just there. Okay? So I'm not trying to take away from that in any way, but there's more. That's not the end game, because in real life, when you actually have to use your English in a business setting or with real people, right? Sometimes good enough isn't going to make you feel good enough. Sometimes good enough is going to make you feel bad, like your English is not good enough, okay? So I'm talking about finally getting to a place where your English matches your native language. That's it. A proficient speaker where you can take an English test and pass it, no sweat. Where you can interview for a job and compete with native English speakers, no sweat. Okay, where you can go out and talk to strangers and not be self-conscious about your accent, no sweat. Okay, like that is what I'm talking about. That is the level that I aim to help my students achieve. Okay, it's a very high level. I understand this, but it is what it is. That's the level that I aimed for in Spanish and that I achieved. And so I'm going to help students achieve that in English. All right. So that's where I come from. That's my line of thinking. Hopefully, you're okay with that. Okay. So these two methodologies, I want to quickly say, this is not just a learning tip that I'm about to give you or a strategy. It's not like on that level of like simplistic, like, oh, use the shadowing method. The shadowing method is good for improving your pronunciation. It is, but that's a tip. That's a strategy. It's not a methodology. Okay. It's not a framework. So the framework, the first methodology that builds this framework that I want to give you is the input-output study methodology, okay? I coined this term. I have not heard it before from anybody else, but I'm sure a lot of people know about it. And if they've never put it into these words, as soon as they hear it, if they are experienced language learners, they go, yeah, that makes sense, of course, right? So it's really just coining a term to something that everybody who's an advanced language learner really understands already. But basically, you need input, output, and study to master a language, to really master a language. Okay, what's input? It's what you put inside your head through your ears and your eyes. Output is what you produce through writing, communication, speaking. And study is analysis, right? Really analyzing the language, learning the language, lessons about the language, etc. So I'm going to give you some examples of all of these. So examples of input. Watching interviews. If you're watching an interview, you're consuming the language. If you're reading an article, you're consuming the language, okay? That's input. If you're listening to comedians, okay, and you're listening, right? That's input. You're consuming the language. But that's not enough. It is not enough to just use input to master a language. And the problem is a lot of students stop there. They literally stop at input. They read English. They listen to English. Sometimes they understand perfectly, but then when it comes to their own communication, it's like, no can do, right? So you also need output. Output is producing the language. So let me give you examples of output. Giving presentations, okay? Because speaking, having discussions, like that's, again, baseline, that's basic, right? But higher levels of output will produce higher levels of communication. So giving presentations. Imagine if you had the pressure on you to give a presentation in English where you had to, let's say, analyze an article, okay? Decide if you agree or disagree with it, what points you agree with, what points you disagree with. Look at the way it's written, look at the vocabulary that's used, and now you have to make a presentation where you answer 5 questions related to the article. Like, do you agree with this article? Do you disagree? What advice would you add? What advice would you subtract? Why are you glad you read this article? Or I don't know, something, right? That is going to put pressure on you. And students need pressure to improve. They need these real world experiences where suddenly they have to think critically about a topic, and suddenly they have to give their opinion, and they have to record themselves, and they have to really try to structure their communication in a way that will be easy for other people to understand. Okay? These situations that put pressure on you are so necessary for improving your skills. And this is exactly what we do in the daily English program. There are several presentations. There are several weeks where one of your tasks is you have to give a presentation. First, you have to do an analysis of a certain topic, of certain content that I give you. Okay, that's very well written, structured, developed. Okay, very interesting. And then you have to analyze it and you have to give a presentation on it. And all the students do it together and all the students give their presentations the same week. So it's really awesome to see other people giving presentations and you're giving a presentation and there's this community effort. Everybody's doing it together. And you learn so much through the experience. Okay, not just through a lesson, you know, not just through what I teach as the teacher, but you learn through the experience of doing a project. And I'm getting ahead of myself here, but we'll talk more about that later. So anyways, giving presentations is an example of output. It forces you to think critically before you produce language, okay? And you learn a lot through that experience. Next, writing short stories, right? Let me tell you this. This is an example of input, right? Because you have to take a story in your mind that you've told maybe 1,000 times in your native language, an anecdote, you know, something that you lived and experienced. And now, what if you had to learn a little bit about how to write well, and then you had to write your own short story, right? You'd sit there with your pen and paper and go, okay, these are all the things I learned about how to write a good short story, and now I actually have to write my story. What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? How am I going to structure it, right? It gives you a problem that you have to solve, and I'm getting ahead of myself here again. It gives you a problem that you have to solve, and by solving that problem, you learn. Okay, you learn so much. So writing short stories. Next, debating ideas. What if there's this idea that is presented to you and somebody presents it very eloquently, very clearly, very persuasively, and now your job is to really analyze that idea and see if you agree with it or disagree with it. Again, critical thinking. And then speaking. Discussions, defending your ideas, okay? Talking with other people. You're not really going to have time to be like, oh, I'm nervous about talking, you know, because you've got an idea to defend, okay? So those are examples of output, and I gave you high-level examples. It's not just like chatting with a friend or like shooting the breeze, right? Like a basic conversation, like, oh, how's your day? What'd you do today? What'd you do yesterday? Nice to meet you. I'm talking about like high-level forms of communication, because you're not just saying whatever, however, whenever. You first have to do analysis. You first have to do critical thinking. You might even have to pull out vocabulary. Like, okay, in order to defend my idea, I'm going to need to use this word, this word, this word, this word, this word from the content that you studied, right? So it's a really cool way of learning, honestly. It's really fun. And again, it puts pressure on the students, but you need that. Whether you realize it and recognize it or not, I guarantee you, you need pressure in order. It's like a diamond, right? Okay. You need that pressure to shine. Okay. It's hard in the moment. It might be difficult in the moment, frustrating, but you come out on the other side a better student, a more advanced student. Okay. A more experienced student, a more experienced speaker and communicator. Okay, finally, we have examples of study, okay? Because remember, the methodology is input, output, and study. Examples of study is learning from English lessons. English lessons do have a place in English learning. I'm not saying there's no place for it. They do have a place, but notice it's a small place. It's not the be-all and end-all of learning a language, and I think a lot of students make that mistake, right? They think that the teacher needs to teach me everything. And that is such a lie. And it's pervasive, I guess, in the English language learning industry and any language learning industry, because we see a teacher. They are the authority. They have all the knowledge in their head. And we somehow think that they can just transfer that knowledge from their head into our head. And it doesn't work like that. And one of the puzzle pieces that the traditional language learning system is missing is experience. Students don't just learn by watching. They learn by experiencing, they learn by touching, they learn by problem solving, they learn by doing things with their hands, whether it be writing or typing or whatever, gestures when they're explaining something or debating something. It's all part of the learning process. And it's crazy because we've taken this thing, this learning languages thing, and in the traditional language learning industry, I feel like they've boiled it down to something that it's just not. And so then you find yourself sitting in class, the teacher does most of the talking, then it's time to do a worksheet, then it's time to do some, I don't know, just, I could go on and on about the methodologies that are used, but then the reality is you end up in those programs for 6, 7, 10 years, longer, and you still are like, I can't really speak English fluently. I don't feel comfortable speaking English. I know all these grammar rules, but my mouth doesn't really know how to use them, and it's such a problem. So there are better ways, and these examples I'm giving you are the better ways, okay? So, another example of study. Did I already say this one? Analyzing transcripts, right? You have like audio that you can listen to, maybe of an interview, podcast, something, and then there's a transcript. So you can listen and you can compare what you hear with what you read. You can also highlight new vocabulary. You can underline sentence structures that are new for you, where you're like, oh, I really like the way that they said this. I love the way that they communicated this. Okay, you can make notes in the margins. Then you can read through the transcript with a friend. You can, oh my goodness, it's endless. There are so many things you can do to like interact with the material and make it fun, make the learning fun, and do it with other people. Okay, my next example of study is looking for your own mistakes. Okay, a lot of students don't do this. They produce the language and then they go, okay, teacher, correct me. What mistakes did I make? And it's like, that's actually a very lazy way of learning. Whenever we're learning a new skill, whether we're learning how to cook or we're learning a sport or whatever, we should always be analyzing ourselves. Like, what am I doing well? What could I improve? And a big tip here is what is difficult for you. If you know what's difficult for you, that's likely where you're making a lot of mistakes and you want to pay attention there. Okay, one way in the Daily English program that we help students learn how to self-correct is we have them record videos, okay? You record a video, for example, one of the presentations. You have to do a presentation, and students end up practicing for this presentation. They record it multiple times because they're like, I didn't like how it turned out, but that's okay because it's all part of the learning process. And then you have to watch your video and you go, oh my goodness, I was not speaking loud enough. I need to speak up. I can barely hear my own video. Or you look at your face and you go, oh my goodness, I look so nervous. I need to like put on a more confident face. Okay. Or you hear a grammar mistake and you go, oh, no. That sounds incorrect. Okay. And then you can go to the teacher, whatever, and you can say, hey, can I get some feedback on this? I was analyzing it and I think I made this mistake, or I'm not sure about this, or what do you think about that? Okay. But then it's a collaborative effort. You are collaborating with the teacher to improve your language skills. You are way more in control at this point of your progress, which is what we're aiming to help students achieve, right? You're way more in control because the teacher is not the authority anymore. You also become authority in your own language learning journey, right? Because you can also look at what you produce and analyze it based on what you know. Another thing that students do, by the way, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. This is the phrase of the class. I'm getting ahead of myself. But another thing that our students do is they love the Daily English program so much, I'll just be honest, that a lot of students repeat the program. Now, how often in your life have you loved a learning program so much that you decided to repeat the program, right? Anyways, so they repeat the program, and we have special tasks set up for students who are repeating the program and special questions set up when they're doing the analysis of their work. And one of the questions is always go back and look at your previous task that you did in the last round of the challenge or the first round of, program, or the first round of the program, and analyze it. So the students that have done our program 2, 3, 4, 5, I think we have students who've even done it like 6 times. It's pretty crazy because the material allows for that, by the way. It allows for deep learning where you can go deeper and deeper, and it allows for deep learning, okay? So you don't really get bored of the content. Anyways, students go back, they look at their old assignments and they go, oh, wow. And they can really see what they did wrong 6 months ago or a year ago, or they are able to improve. Okay, it's a totally, totally different way of improving your English that really puts you in the driver's seat. It puts you in control of what you're doing and your progress. Okay, so that's the first methodology, the input-output study methodology. We use this in the daily English program. Now you know exactly what it is, and you can do it yourself, right? You need to set up input for yourself. You need to set up output for yourself. You need to study, okay? You can do all of these things, but you will need to do all of these things if you want to sharpen your English, okay? And if you want to join us in the daily English program, again, enrollment is opening tomorrow, and then we give you a structured approach where you don't have to do any of the thinking of like, well, what material should I use? And how can I find partners to study with? Okay, we'll take care of all of that for you. But if you can't join us, or if you don't want to, or you're too busy right now, at least you have the methodology to do it yourself. Okay, next. The next methodology, and this one I'm really excited about. Okay, project-based learning versus concept-based learning, or another way of saying concept-based learning is teacher-led instruction. Now, before I get into this, I want to tell you a funny story. I thought I invented this phrase, project-based learning, because I've been doing this for years since I, started developing our programs, right? Project-based learning is where you give the students a project. You're like, here, take this project. And then they have to go do it. And then they learn through the experience of completing the project. And I was like, wow, this is revolutionary. I'm a genius. No, I'm just kidding. But I was like, wow, this project-based learning thing, first of all, I love this way of learning. And I realized other people love this way of learning, and it produces amazing results, right? You give a project to the students with an outline. Here's how you complete the project. Now just go do the project, right? And students learn through that, and the projects are fun, and it's just great, right? But I did not invent this term project-based learning. And I discovered this because we hired a teacher to work with us. She's awesome. She's California-based, grew up here in California like I did. She teaches at one of the universities, ESL classes at one of the universities in the Bay Area. And when I was doing the interview to hire her, she had sent me with her resume, her thesis. And I read like the first 10 pages of her thesis. I was like, well, I want to see what she has to say. Like, I want to see how she thinks, And in her thesis, she talked about the research around project-based learning and how, we need to implement this more in our classrooms and how effective it is. And I was like, oh my goodness, first of all, it's really cool. And second of all, it's just really cool. Like, I can't believe I used the exact terminology that is being used out there in the bigger world that I didn't even know about. I literally thought I coined that term. And no, come to find out, this is a methodology that is gaining popularity because it is so effective. And she was even quoting research that was done about this methodology. And it was just a really cool feeling because I'm like, wow, I didn't even know about this research. I just figured this out, and I've been doing it with my students, and I even used the same name for it. Like, I don't know. Sorry, I had to pat myself on the back because that is cool, if you ask me. So we're going to talk now about project-based learning versus concept-based learning. Concept-based learning is where you learn a concept. The teacher's like, here's a concept. Okay, I'm going to teach it to you. Now here's a worksheet. You're going to practice. You're like, here's the grammar rule. Okay, now here's the worksheet. You got to practice. Fill in the blanks. Okay, that's concept-based learning. That's also teacher-led instruction, where the teacher is teaching. Okay, they're at the forefront of the education. Project-based learning is learner-centric education. The teacher is not the center of attention here. The teacher is not the ultimate authority. The teacher is not the focus. The spotlight is not on the teacher. The teacher is a facilitator of the education. Okay, so with project-based learning, you're giving authority to the students. You are giving power to the students. You are putting them in the driver's seat of the learning. You're saying, here's the project. Here's what I want you to do. And you have structured the project in such a way where they will have an amazing learning experience as long as they follow it step by step. You've done all the thinking for them. Not all the thinking because they have to solve the problem. But what I mean is you've kind of reverse engineered something. You've put together a learning experience or a problem that will give them a learning experience. And they don't really understand it at the beginning. They don't understand it, how it's going to work, how it's going to come together. But as they do the project, they go, oh my goodness. And by the end of it, they go, wow, I can speak English confidently now. Wow, I can speak English fluently now. Wow, I can defend my ideas. I can debate in English. I can, create presentations in English. I can get a job in English, right? And it's not because they sat through hundreds of hours of English lessons. It's because you gave them an experience. You put pressure on them. You allowed them to collaborate with other learners, which is essential for growth. If you're trying to learn any skill and you do it 100% by yourself, you're missing out on a very important component, which is collaboration. Any skill that you're trying to learn, collaborate with people. I don't care what skill it is. Do it with other people. Show other people your work. Talk to other people. I have a really good example of this I'm going to give you guys in a second. But hopefully you're getting you're understanding the difference between project-based learning and concept-based learning, okay? So let me give you some examples of this. And again, we do this kind of stuff in the daily English program. So a teacher teaching you pronunciation, right? That's an example of concept-based learning. And that has its place. I make lessons where I teach pronunciation. That can be very helpful. But again, it's like all just input. It's just all going into your brain. It's not really helping you produce the language. So concept-based learning, a teacher teaches pronunciation, okay? What about, instead of that, you do a shadowing project, like one of the last YouTube videos I posted, okay? You can do a shadowing project for free with one of the videos that I just posted, right? I read something, okay, and you have to analyze it. You have to print the transcript. You have to look at how I link the words together. You have to slow it down, listen to my pronunciation, listen to certain parts over and over and over again, and then practice saying it with the same rhythm and the same pace and the same intonation patterns that I use. And when you practice that 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, boy, oh boy, are you going to get good at pronunciation. Okay? Shadowing is super effective. And I tell my students all the time, you don't need a lot of material for this. You need a few pieces of really good material that you study deeply. Okay? Because you can learn so many connections, so many natural English connections. You can learn all the sounds of English just by studying one piece of content deeply. Okay? And focusing on mastering that. And then everything you learn from that project, that shadowing project, you will take with you and you will be able to implement in the next shadowing project and the next one and the next one. And soon you're not going to need any shadowing projects because your pronunciation is going to be on point. By the way, when it comes to shadowing, we don't only have to imitate like the pace of the speaker, the rhythm, the intonation, the sounds. You can also think about the quality of their voice, because some people, this is going above and beyond here, not what I was planning on teaching, but some people, the quality of their voice, it might be too nasal, so it won't sound right in English, or it might be, I don't know what the opposite of that is. I don't remember the term, but where it's not nasal enough, like your resonance, it sounds like you have a cold or something. Okay. You can even imitate those kinds of things in shadowing. Okay. Next, where am I? Okay. Another example of concept-based versus project-based, right? A teacher teaches how to give an effective presentation. Like, hi, in this video, I'm going to give you 10 tips to improve your presentation skills. Okay, so then you watch the video. Did you do a presentation? No. So did you really learn anything? Not really. We tend to learn more from experience, right, than just from people telling us how something is done. Okay, so instead of a teacher teaching you how to give an effective presentation, what if you learned that, but then you followed it up with, you have to now give a presentation. You have to put those skills to the test, okay? Next, a teacher teaching vocabulary. Like, okay, I'm going to teach you vocabulary related to summertime. Cool, we're going to learn these words, okay? Versus you watch an interview and analyze the transcript so that you're pulling out and combing through it and finding all the words you don't know in context, not just random words that are standalone, like, okay, this word means this word means this word means this. No, you're like really pulling out vocabulary in context. You're analyzing a transcript and then you're following it all up with a discussion with like 3 to 5 classmates where you guys talk about everything that you learned, okay? You talk about the interview. What did you like about it? What did you dislike? What did you learn? Okay, what do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And then you also talk about what you learned related to the English. What sentence structure did you really like? What vocabulary did you learn? Okay, this is deep learning. This is project-based learning. This is learning where it is putting you in the driver's seat. It's not about what the teacher has to teach you anymore. It's about what are you going to extract? What are you going to learn through the experience? And I promise you, this is one of the most powerful ways to learn. Okay, so now let's bring it all together. And I have more to say about this, okay? And I have an example. I actually have something really cool sitting here on my desk that I'm going to show you guys to give a perfect example of some of this. Okay. So going back to the 2 methodologies to build a framework that guarantees success, right? What are the 2 methodologies? Let's recap. Input, output, and study, right? You need all 3 of those things to advance your language skills. You can't just do one or the other. You need all 3. And then what's another methodology? Together, this builds a framework, right? It's the project-based learning methodology where you are doing projects, okay? You have a structure. There's a step 1, a step 2, a step 3, all the way to step 10. There's an outline. There's material that you have to work with. There are learning objectives. Like the objective for this project is, and then here are the objectives. If it's a shadowing project, you're really going to improve your pronunciation. You're going to train your ears to understand native speakers more. You're going to learn lots of connections. And the crazy thing about this is you're learning it through observation. Nobody's teaching it to you. You are learning through observation. It is very, very powerful. So now I'm going to show you guys something I've been working on. I'm so excited to share this. Let me tell you a quick story. A year and a few months ago, okay, I still follow her, this woman online who does knitting. She's an influencer on Instagram, and I don't know how I found her profile, but I really liked her personality, and she knits, and the things she makes are so amazing. And I was always like, oh my gosh, that looks complicated. I don't think I would ever have the patience to do that or whatever, but I just liked her, so I followed her content. Then one day, she released a tutorial on YouTube and a pattern for the cutest top I have ever seen, like a knit top. And I've actually been wanting a knit top like this. And I was like, oh, I think I found my first knitting project. Like I never in a million years thought I would knit, much less knit anything, right? When I was younger, I learned the 2 basic stitches, knit and purl, and that's it. And I think I made a scarf once when I was like 17. That's it. That was my level of experience, like nothing, okay? And so anyhow, here's what I did. I bought her pattern, okay? And I have it in this binder. And let me show you if I can, okay? This is the top. I don't know if you can see it. It's called the Lola top. And I saw that and I was like, that is adorable. And then when I watched her tutorial and I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, like it can't be that hard. I could do that. Like she really made it look easy, okay? So what did I do? I bought the pattern and then I bought everything that I would need to make this top. And I promised myself, I was like, I'm going to complete this. This is not going to be one of those projects that I start and don't finish. I'm going to finish this. And you guys, I've almost finished it. I have like a few more hours worth of work on this top. Let me show you. Here it is. I bought the yarn, I bought the needles, and I don't know if how can I show this to you? It's like on my desk. I might have to switch my phone around. I think I can do that. Here, let's see. Okay, yeah, those are my notes. Okay, you guys, let's look at this together because I'm going to explain something here. So this is the top. This is one of the shoulder straps. I need to make the other shoulder strap, and then I need to tuck in these ends, and then I have a top. And I tried it on, and it is so cute, and I love it, and I love the colors. See the inside? And I cannot believe that I made this, you guys. I am an absolute beginner, and I made this. Okay, I made this. And how did I make it? I made it because I followed a pattern. I followed a structure. She's telling you in all these pages, do this, then do this, then do this, then do this. And I'll tell you what, sometimes I messed up and I had to figure out how to fix my mistakes. And I was so determined to make this that I did. And you can see my improvement if you look closely, because here these stitches are kind of like wide apart. And then as you go down, it's like my stitches come together and they look more even. Okay, so you can literally see how I improved as I was making this top. Okay. So I have a few more things I want to share about this. First of all, I cannot wait to finish this. I'm going to post a picture of me in it once I finish it. You guys, it's so cute. I love it. And did I make some mistakes in this? Yes, I did. And there's a couple that I can see, but the ones that were really obvious mistakes, I was like, oh no, I do not want that mistake in my top. So then I had to go back and I had to figure out how to fix it. So I started this project with my yarn and my needles and my pattern and the YouTube tutorial. But through the process of learning, because this is project-based learning, you guys, I didn't sit in a classroom where a teacher said, okay, now we're going to practice this knitting strategy. Now we're going to practice that. Okay, undo your work. Let's practice again. You know, it wasn't like that. It was like I had a project and I did the project and I learned by doing the project. I learned so much. I learned different stitches, actually I don't think they're called stitches, but different patterns for the stitches and how the effects that they produce. I learned how to bind off. That's the edges here. I learned how to do the bind off. I learned 3 different methodologies for fixing my mistakes. I learned how to undo, or maybe 4. I learned how to undo a couple stitches correctly. I learned how to undo a whole row of stitches. I learned how to undo a mistake that I made like a few rows down. What else? Oh, I learned at the top when you have to like make it like go wider. I learned how to add stitches on the left and add stitches on the right. There's like, if I listed all the skills that I gained by doing this one project, it would have to be like at least 20 different skills. Seriously. And now I'm more experienced. I have something to show for my effort. It's not just like, oh, I'm studying knitting. It's like I made myself a top that I will wear proudly and I will enjoy. I have something to show for my effort, right? This is why I love project-based learning, because you don't just come out of a classroom having spent 1 hour watching a teacher. You come out with something to show for your learning, an actual physical thing, or, you know, an actual experience. It's so different. And then the cool thing is there are local communities and online communities for people that do knitting and sewing. I want to get into sewing too. Just to try it, just because I need some hobbies that are relaxing. Although it's not relaxing when you make a mistake, I'll say that. But when you're in the zone and you're just knitting, it's so relaxing and I really enjoyed it. And I'm just like, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I just look at this and I go, I can't believe I did this. I can't believe I, as a beginner, made this whole thing, right? I'm not a genius. I'm just a normal human. So basically this is to show you guys the power of project-based learning. Okay, it's way, way, way different from everything you've ever experienced with learning English if you've never done project-based learning before. And so now we're going to talk about some of the benefits of project-based learning just to wrap everything up. Okay, so what are some of the benefits of project-based learning when it comes to English? First of all, I've already said this, it gives you a structure that you can follow. It's like, it takes out the thinking work. You just have to do, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, and do the critical thinking. But you don't actually have to think about what you're going to do to improve. You just do the thing that will help you improve. Okay. So I've said this also, it helps you be in the driver's seat, in control of your learning. It encourages you to take ownership, okay, to take ownership of your journey. It helps you become independent, right? So I'm independent. I can, you know, get another pattern. I can make something else if I want to. I don't need a teacher to teach me necessarily, but I'm not going to rule that out because I do actually really enjoy learning from more experienced people. So I do plan on, at least with sewing, because I don't know how much I'm going to continue with knitting. It takes a lot of time. But with sewing, yeah, I am going to do some classes, but I'm also going to do a lot on my own. And that's something I think people don't realize. Like, you have to invest a lot of time by yourself. A lot of the learning happens when you are by yourself. And then the teacher can help fill in some blanks for you, right? The teacher can help you understand concepts a little bit better, but you're the one that has to practice, right? There's nobody that's going to get good at knitting or sewing for me. No amount of knowledge in a teacher's head is going to make me magically improve if I don't put in the work. What do they say, like 10,000 hours or something? You need to put in 10,000 hours to get really good at something like that. So anyways, What else? Okay, project-based learning keeps you motivated because you have a project that you can complete. And that once you complete it, you will have gone through an experience. You will have, collaborated with your friends. You will have something to show for it, as I said. So it's very motivating. It's not your run-of-the-mill, attend the English class, do your homework, turn it in. Attend English class, do your homework, turn it in. Okay, it's much more exciting than that. You have something to show for your effort. It prepares you for the real world. Like I said, imagine doing a presentation in an English program. Well, then you can go out in real life and you'll be prepared to do that in real life. I already said this one, a lot more fun and engaging. Okay, this one's important. I think I already said this too, but project-based learning encourages student engagement and collaboration. So the engagement part, instead of just sitting back in a class and watching the teacher teach, now you're doing something. And you're collaborating with other students. And this collaboration piece is so important because a lot of times students say like, oh, if I practice with other English learners, I'm not going to improve my English. And I think we need to stop thinking of it like that. You're not just practicing with other English learners, you're collaborating. You're all doing critical thinking. You are all communicating and you will all sharpen each other's skills. And there are a lot of students who are more advanced than you, who have something they could teach you, who you could learn something from them. Maybe you'll learn confidence from one student. Maybe you'll be inspired by the grammar of another student, right? So this whole collaborative thing is so necessary. So I don't need to only work with like knitting teacher experts in order to improve my knitting. No, I can collaborate with other people who are just learning just like me. We can all talk about what we're learning together. We can all talk about our mistakes. We can all show each other our work. It's really fun to have community when you learn. So I think that's really important. Project-based learning, it allows you to do your own research. So traditional learning, you're given absolutely everything. Like here is what you have to read and here are the questions you have to answer and that's it. With project-based learning, you have to do your own research. Like I had to go look up videos on YouTube to figure out how to do certain things that I didn't quite understand, especially when it came to my mistakes. Project-based learning also encourages creativity. Okay, that's so huge. So many of us are creative individuals. We need that outlet. We need to be in control. We need to create. We can't just consume. Do you know what I mean? We need to create too. It gives you community. It immerses you in the language. When you do project-based learning with English, you are literally immersed in the language. At least in our daily English program, the content you're studying is in English, made by native speakers for native speakers. It's not ESL level. It's not ESL target anything. It's not that kind of material. No, by native English speakers for native English speakers. And then, so it immerses you in the language, right? And then it helps you develop critical thinking and problem solving skills, which are really important for us to have in every language that we speak. We need critical thinking and problem solving skills. Okay, so the last thing I'll say, and this is kind of a bit of a jump from what we were talking about, but it's important and I had it here in my notes. I wasn't sure where I was going to fit it in, but I'll just end on this note. So traditional language learning forces you to compartmentalize language, right? This is the present tense. This is the past tense. This is an article. This is a preposition. This is a phrasal verb. You're forced to compartmentalize everything and then put it all back together in order to communicate. Okay? That's not natural. That is not how your brain loves to learn, right? The focus is on categorizing language to understand the language rather than understanding the language as a whole in context and allowing your brain to categorize it, okay? Your brain is an amazing machine when it comes to picking up patterns and categorizing things. You've been doing it your whole life, whether you realize it or not. In every aspect of your life, not just language, your brain will categorize and understand the world for you, okay? But traditional language learning, it separates and compartmentalizes language, and then it makes you try to put it all back together in order to communicate. And this is why we get stuck when we speak. And this is why we feel like we know so much of the language, but we can't actually produce the language, okay? So the solution truly is immersing yourself in the language 100%, whether you think you're ready or not. Ready or not, here I come, okay? Immerse yourself 100% in the language with material that is even above your level, okay? Like I said, material that's made by native speakers, for native speakers. Nobody's slowing it down. Nobody's making it easier because you're an ESL student. No. Immerse yourself in that level of content and watch your amazing brain understand and categorize everything for you so that you start understanding without realizing why you understand, or you start knowing how to say things without realizing or understanding how you know how to say it. You start realizing what's correct without even understanding the grammar rule, because your brain is that powerful and that amazing. And that, I believe, is how languages should be taught, from the bottom up, even if you're a beginner, okay? Even if you're a beginner. And I will quickly tell you a story that encapsulates this and really, I think it was like the foundation of this belief for me. I did not grow up speaking Spanish. My parents, my mom is a native Spanish speaker, but we were an English-speaking household. I did not understand my mom when she spoke Spanish when I was younger. I did not. That was her secret language that she used with my dad when they wanted to talk about things that us kids, they didn't want us to know about, right? So when I was in high school, in 9th grade, I was in a regular Spanish 1 class. And when the teacher found out my mom was a native Spanish speaker, she said, you should go to the class with native Spanish speakers. And it was amazing what she did for me, because she said, even if you don't understand it, your brain will pick it up for you. Okay, so just go. And I went there, and on day 1, I did not understand the teacher. I remember even asking my friend who was sitting next to me in the class, like, what does this word mean? And she's like, tree. Like, basic vocabulary. Okay, I did not know. And within 3 months, I was understanding the teacher. Okay, not every single word, but the concepts. And I was laughing at the jokes, and I was understanding what we had to do for the homework. Okay, because my brain, your brain, is so powerful, it will just start understanding through immersion. Okay, and it's the kind of immersion where when you're in a classroom, you can actually see things happening around you, so it gives you context too. I don't think that if I just start listening to Chinese today, in 3 months, I'm suddenly going to understand Chinese. No. It's like you need to be in an environment where there's context and things happening around you. But my point is, even beginners can benefit from full-on immersion, because the class I went to for native speakers was 100% in Spanish, everything about it. The textbook, the teacher, speaking, the homework, the talking, discussions in class, everything, right? So when your brain has enough of these touch points and enough things to analyze and pick up on, it will do a lot of the analysis for you. So that's my story. Okay, so you guys, I'm going to wrap up this class now. Maybe we can do a few minutes of Q&A. I don't want this to go over an hour. I've been ignoring, I am so sorry, I've been ignoring all the comments as they come in, because if not, I lose my train of thought and I can't get through all the material. And as you can see, it takes me like a whole hour just to get through it. So I hope you learned something today. I hope you were inspired today to really take control of your language learning journey, to know that you can sharpen your English, get it to the level that you want, okay? Remember, input, output, and study, project-based learning. Those are the 2 methodologies, okay, that combined really will make a huge, huge difference for you. Now, remember, okay, as I'm waiting for questions to come in case anybody has a question. But remember that tomorrow we are opening doors to our daily English program. This is the 3-year anniversary of this program, you guys. I am so excited, and we're going to give students a huge, huge discount to celebrate this anniversary. And this is a 12-week program, for those of you who don't know. And every single week for 12 weeks, we do projects that help students with the input, output, and study. So it's not like a traditional course at all in any way. We give you a project, and every week we're working on different things. So the first week, for example, you're going to get some vocabulary, some pronunciation, some analysis, critical thinking, and a presentation. Like, that's what you're going to work on. The next week is all about shadowing, okay, and pronunciation, and fine-tuning your pronunciation. The next week we dive deep into writing, anecdotes, sharing stories, and everything is high level. Okay. I like to call this college level curriculum, because it is, because we're preparing you for the real world. And you're more than welcome to join us. Everyone on my email list is going to be the first to know when enrollment opens. If you're not on my email list, you can sign up at englishfulltime.com. This is one of several programs that we offer. And this is our program that is basically, it doesn't go deep into one thing. It goes like broad into many things, if that makes sense. So my accent freedom program, that goes really deep into pronunciation, accent, your voice, speaking, communicating, like that kind of thing, but how you sound. This is not that. This is kind of like my everything program where we're going to work on improving your writing. We're going to work on improving your vocab. We're going to work on improving your grammar, pronunciation, speaking, presentation skills. And at the end of it, you are going to be a completely independent, proactive learner who has all the tools that you need to continue doing this by yourself. But you'll be supported with all of our material. What else should I say about this? I don't know. Let me scroll up and see if there's any questions. Larissa says, I don't have a question. Just wanted to say thank you for all your input. You are welcome. Okay, thank you for all your explanation, especially project learning. You're welcome. I'm really glad you guys like that. Let's see. So far, I'm not seeing any questions, but you guys are saying thank you. So it sounds like you learned something. That's awesome. Okay, well, I'm actually going to post this now to Instagram. So if anybody has any questions that I have not seen, you can always ask me there, and then I will reply there. Okay, there's this question here. Hi, Stephanie. Any advice to get rid of your accent while speaking in English? Yes, I have so much advice about that. But I don't even know where to start. There's so much to say. That could be a whole nother masterclass. But basically, it's like people say, right? Accent is not a problem unless it interferes with communication. And then there are ways of shifting your pronunciation so you can sound more of the way that you want to sound. But will you pass 100% as a native speaker? Likely not. And that's okay. And I honestly believe that should not be the goal anyways, because when you're trying to pass, you're giving permission to other people to judge you. Like, do I pass? Do I not pass? Who is the judge there? The native speaker. So you're elevating them, you're giving them power, you're giving them the position to judge you. And do you want that? Is that going to serve you? No. Okay. What it really should be about is, am I proud of the way I sound? Do I like how I sound? Am I clear? Does my voice reflect who I am and who I want to be? Does my voice and my pronunciation and my accent, do they help me achieve the things that I want to achieve in life? Okay. So I think it shouldn't be about getting rid of the accent completely. It's kind of like a paradigm shift. It's like looking at it in a different way. You can absolutely modify and change and shift your pronunciation. You can play around with it. You can learn how natives speak and you can imitate that 100%. A lot of people get really good at accents, but I think that sounding or almost passing as a native, like that should be kind of like a byproduct of just you speaking so much, and it just sort of happens naturally, not like this contrived thing that you force to happen, because then it will often sound contrived and forced. But if it happens as a natural byproduct of you, speaking regularly and talking with other people and enjoying English and working on your pronunciation, having fun with it, then that's perfect. By the way, I'm wondering if Instagram is going to cut me off in a minute, because sometimes, or it used to do that in the past. Someone said, is there some way to pay for the course from Russia? You'll have to email us. I actually don't know what the options are or might be, but we'll definitely try to help you with that. Let's see. Is it possible to be 100% bilingual? Yes, absolutely. And there are people that speak multiple languages. So for sure. Teach English. Someone said, and how long you get this knowledge? That's a good question. I don't know. I think everything that I teach here, especially in my master classes, when I'm trying to teach big picture ideas about learning and teaching and stuff like that. It comes from my entire background combined. And a lot of these ideas, like, I wasn't able to put into words several years ago. Like, it takes time to process your ideas, to analyze your ideas. And this is my job, right? I run an online English school. So it is my job to think about the best way to learn, the best way to help students. It is my job to be a critical thinker. It is my job to challenge the status quo of what are teachers currently doing? What are systems currently doing? What are programs currently doing? What actually works and what doesn't work? Why is it that students can take English classes for 10 years and still not be fluent speakers? That is wrong in my mind. That is a scam, actually. It's like, we live in 2023, people. Like, it shouldn't be confusing or I don't know, like a secret, the best way to learn languages. I cannot believe that students are in programs that years and years of these programs and they still can't speak confidently, fluently. But it's a systemic issue, okay? It's not just one teacher or many teachers or a curriculum or a program or a school, or it's a whole systemic issue where not enough people are thinking outside the box, and also people are stuck in the system who want to think outside the box. Like a lot of teachers, they have to teach the curriculum. They can't just make their own curriculum. That's why I like the position that I'm in, where I made my own school. You know, I get to do things the way I want. I am the head honcho here. Like, nobody gets to tell me what to do or how to do or anything like that. And I don't have to be influenced or intimidated by how other people are doing it. Again, I get to do what I want. And my priority is helping students get results as fast as possible, enjoying the learning experience, becoming independent learners so they're not dependent on the system. So as more and more people, I guess, come out of the traditional learning system and make their own schools, then maybe you'll see more and more people doing things this way. Just a second to get something that fell on the floor. 1 second. Okay, thank you for coming to my TED Talk, by the way, about what I just said. Someone says, I live in USA, but my friends are in Russia. I can make a payment for you here, but you send money, one of my friends in Russia. Wow, that is really sweet. There's already somebody that volunteered to help you with that. Okay, somebody asked Stephanie a question. How about the feedback? Oh, good. After the presentations. Okay, I'm glad you asked. This is actually something that I've been thinking a lot about. I've been talking with my team, and I'll tell you guys our solution, right? Because in the past, the Daily English program was really geared to helping students becoming independent, so independent that we limited interaction with me, with teachers, feedback, etc. And it worked. I mean, we have students that have done the program multiple times. But at the same time, a question that I'm trying to answer now is, how can we give even more? Okay, how can we make the experience even better for students? What do students really need? What do they want? And how can we support them? And I hear you guys. So many people are like, feedback, we want feedback, etc., etc. And now that I'm finally working with a team of teachers, we are working on bringing that to all of our programs. So in the Daily English program, you get feedback on every single task that you submit from one of our English teachers on our team. Okay. And then we're going to have live sessions as well, where if you can show up, you can participate in those live sessions, but they're going to be live study sessions, Q&A sessions, etc., where you're going to get more support. But I also want to be careful to maintain the original balance that we had, because it was good. And it really helped students become independent, proactive learners. So it's like, we achieved our goal, but I still want to do a little bit more, and I want to give more feedback. So we're building that into the course now. So yes, there's going to be a weekly Q&A session. There's going to be a weekly study session, but we also encourage our students to do study sessions together with their peers where there's no teacher present, because you can learn a lot by doing that as well. Okay. So yes, you're going to get all of that as part of the program. How long does it take to complete the program? The program, it's a 12-week program. Let's see. So yeah, 12-week program. And then we have one additional week where it's just you are analyzing your entire participation in the program. Okay. It's about, how should I say this? Yeah, basically the final week, like the 13th week, it's after the program ends, and then you get to analyze your success in the program. Like, what did you do? What did you accomplish? What could you have done better? Look at your English skills, what has improved, etc. Okay. So sorry, guys, I had to skip some of the questions that are not really related to the talk that I gave today. And I'm sure I missed some other questions as well. I do apologize. But hit me up in the DMs. Ask me your questions in the DMs. Or when I post this video, ask your questions underneath this video. And yeah, you guys, tomorrow I'll make the announcement when the course is open. We're going to spend about a week or less than a week enrolling students. And then we start next week, next Wednesday. Okay, so yeah, any other questions in the comments under this video once I post it, or in my DMs, or you can email me. We're opening enrollment tomorrow. It's really exciting, you guys. I can't wait, and we'll start the program next week. Okay, that's it. And now I need to figure out how to end this video. Where is the end button? I feel like they changed something here. Okay, I'll just try to figure it out. Okay, bye guys.